Welcome to DABCC Radio,
where smart people listen.
Virtualization and Cloud Talk,
Featuring cutting-edge solutions from the hottest companies around the globe.
broadcasting from the DABCC offices in sunny Sarasota, Florida.
Surrounded by computers, books, and Legos. Your host, Douglas Brown.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of DABCC Radio. I'm looking forward to this episode because today we're going to talk about and share with you the new IGEL UD7. And you might wonder, what is an UD7? Well, really, we're going to discuss that, but the way I like to think of it, it's a big beast of a device to run IGEL OS on. It's an amazing device. You can run 4K displays. I won't get into the stats because that's what we're going to discuss, but I think you guys will really love this. It's brand new, redesigned. It is a beast of a device. It's just an amazing piece of hardware. So we have a couple folks from our product management group with us, Catherine and Michail, who is going to share all, the fine details about this great thing we call the IGEL UD7. So with no further ado, let's just dive into my interview with these folks and let's get to it. Okie dokie. I'm really looking forward to this. We had you guys on early in the year to talk about the UD Pocket 2, and now we're going to have you back on to talk about this new great UD7, which is really just a phenomenal device, a beast of a device, as Frederick called it, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so before we get too far, let's do some simple introductions. And ladies first. So, Catherine, who are you and what do you do over at IGEL?
Thanks, Doug. My name is Catherine Gallagher. I work in product marketing at IGEL, and in that role, I create content for the complete IGEL-powered endpoint solution, and that's of both hardware and fully integrated software. And I also collaborate with our strategic alliance partner Citrix to create some useful and informative content on our joint solution. I suppose my goal is to equip the international sales and marketing teams with product information and tools to help them inform our partners and customers on IGEL's solution and the complete solution then of both hardware and software.
Very cool. Very cool. You guys have the coolest jobs, right? Anyone in the Augsburg, down in Augsburg, you guys, I always see you guys have you work with the products, whether you're in, you said marketing, but you're technical, this is technical marketing. This is neat stuff. You're playing with the product. Michail, you have an even cooler, well, I don't know if I want to discount Catherine, but you're the product manager for can you talk about who you are and what you're doing within IGEL?
Yeah, sure, Doug. First of all, thank you for inviting us again to talk to the IGEL community. This is really an amazing and very strong community, and it's really amazing what you're doing there, you guys. And we're always happy to talk to the IGEL community.
Yeah.
And Michail Maridakis, I'm product manager at IGEL. I'm responsible for the hardware portfolio of IGEL, the hardware products, and more and more also engaged within the IGEL Ready program. You may have heard of that program, whereas partners of IGEL's are sending their devices or their apps, software, whatsoever to IGEL to qualify it with IGEL OS and with our solutions. And we are happy to talk today about this really amazing new upcoming model of IGEL, the new IGEL UD7.
Perfect. Before we get into the UD7, I'd say, if you don't mind, I'd just like to ask you, we did the last podcast on the UD Pocket 2. How's that coming? I mean, can you maybe share some, what's the adoption? Are people excited about this? Any interesting feedback we received from the UD Pocket 2?
Yes, sure. It's pretty new yet because we have introduced the new UD Pocket 2 just in April. So the first podcast we gave for the IGEL community, you were really very at a very early stage hearing about the new upcoming product. So I do not really have a very much information in the moment, because this new product is just about something like 1.5 months in the market. But yes, the first customers already have started evaluating this new device. It offers more functionality than the previous one, the USB-C interface, and we are really looking forward this new product to be established in the market also in the same way as the very successful original UD Pocket already is.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, I'm excited. I want to get one, darn it. But this chip shortage and everything, I haven't wanted to ask. So we'll talk about that chip shortage later. I'm really curious to know a little bit more about this thing.
It's not really attacked by the chipset shortage, the UD Pocket. This is an additional advantage the UD Pocket has, right? It's a very, from hardware perspective, is a very simple device. It's a USB device. And this enables you to continue your work, and you do not have an issue with any kind of chip shortage if you will require a new endpoint or a new monitor or something like that, or even a new car nowadays, then you probably are going to see an issue with availability.
Yeah, you got it. Well, I did not know that. I figured everything was being affected, but that's really great to hear. So I know that a lot of people are using the UD Pockets to migrate old hardware, especially for many reasons. One, the chip shortage, right? The availability of hardware, but two, just because it makes a lot of sense. Why throw away something that's more than valid? Convert it to IGEL using UD Pocket, and away you go, right? Especially the work from home. I mean, there's so many use cases as we discussed in the previous podcast. But that's great. Catherine, anything to add there?
I think that's it. With the use your own device as well. The UD Pocket, both versions are proving to be a real advantage at the moment for companies to be able to get their people up and running quickly, and not to be affected by any chip delays.
That's perfect. So let's talk about this UD7. And this thing is cool. And this is something I want to get my hands on, but I definitely not going to ask for one yet. So so can you bring us up to speed? What's new? What's the high level of this UD7? What's different? What is this thing?
Catherine, should I, or do you?
Yeah, do you want to go ahead here?
Okay, no problem. Yeah. New IGEL UD7. You may know our high-end portfolio in the past years, several years, we were offering the UD6 and the UD7 as the high-end parts of our portfolio. The UD6 more focusing on power, on graphics performance. The UD7 more focusing on multi-monitor support. This previous UD7 device offered 3 display ports plus an additional display port if you had ordered the external graphics card. In those 2 product segments, we have decided to combine into one and offer a new UD7. The new UD7 will replaced already the existing UD6 and UD7 products, and offers both worlds in one product. It offers outstanding graphics performance, and it offers also 4 display ports always on board. So you are going to see an outstanding graphics performance and multi-monitor support in this new device.
Yeah, and our Frederick Batstick created 3 really fantastic performance videos. They will be available on YouTube. I can share those YouTube URLs with you, Doug, for the community. And those videos really showcase the performance in different scenarios, and how the 4 display ports and the performance of the AMD Ryzen and the Vega 8 graphics can really, and that's Frederick coined this UD7 as the beast.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we take really the development and the definition of a new product very seriously, as always. And you know that IGEL as such has a very long experience and very long history also in the hardware segment of products, more than 20 years now. We have started as a hardware company originally. And the new UD7 comes now to complete the full renewal of our portfolio. We have introduced the new UD2 back in 2019. Last year, we have introduced the new UD3, which also really put on top in terms of performance and connectivity. And now we're coming to close to complete the portfolio renewal by introducing the new UD7, which will have the same design language like you may know from the UD2 and the new UD3 series, so it will have the same design. And we really we're thinking about what I was saying before, what is the best, which use scenarios, which use cases are we going to address with this new device, also based on our experiences. And you may think about things, about use cases like research and science, for instance, where performance plays a big role, where confidentiality plays a big role, security features, security of data plays a big role. You may think about design or multimedia applications, where really graphics performance plays an important role. Or you may think about financial sectors or trading sectors. Just think about the stock exchange, where you always see in the news, right? Those guys sitting before 4 or 5 or 6 monitors and looking at all the stock exchange, how are they going on, and need a lot of monitors at the same time. So those are the segments basically the new UD7 is targeting to offer a product which can address the requirements in those use cases.
Yeah. And of course, the new UD7 comes with the latest version of IGEL OS pre-installed. And that includes the features and connection protocols for Windows, Workspace app, and all the benefits we offer with Citrix for unified communications and multimedia. And that's something that Frederick portrays as well in his videos. It also has the latest protocols for the Windows Virtual Desktop and VMware Horizon, Teradici PCOIP, and many more. And then, of course, it has, with the IGEL OS, it has the over 100 integrated technology partners. As Michail mentioned earlier on, they are part of the IGEL Ready partner program, and they are fully integrated in the IGEL OS also. And you can activate that IGEL OS that's already pre-installed on the UD7 to really, gain full, I suppose. That combination of IGEL OS and UD7 really helps to transform any graphic intensive task or application into that high fidelity experience that you can gain over the 4 displays. So the combination of both really offer these use cases that Michail mentioned there with architecture and design and or research and science. It's the combination of both that really benefit them.
Makes sense. And no more UD6. That's pretty much I think that's a good deal. Right now, customers don't have to trade off graphics for displays or displays for graphics. One device can do it all.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So you're going to get both from both worlds. As I mentioned before, in our new portfolio, we really have introduced a significant increase in performance. The new UD3, which came into the market last year, has more performance, has a higher performance. Its processor is more performant than the UD6 per processor. So we really have here a really significant increase, which also is needed, by the way, in my opinion, because we are seeing every day the requirements are increasing in all virtual applications, and graphics requirements increase, and communication requirements increase, right? We are all of us are using Zoom and Teams and all things that like that virtually, and there is really a need for an increased performance at the endpoint device. And this is exactly also what we wanted to reflect in the new UD7. We have introduced an AMD Ryzen processor, a V-series processor, the V1605B. Just in case you didn't know, the V-series Ryzens of AMD belong to their high-end Ryzen processor category. And this processor offers 3.6 gigahertz. It includes the latest Radeon Vega graphics. And just if I can continue on the configuration of the new UD7, we have this really outstanding processor. We have the 4 display ports on board, as I mentioned before, which will offer 4 times 4K at 60 Hertz, which is really an amazing performance for a device like that, for its size. And here I also refer to the video, which Catherine mentioned earlier. There you really can see that performance at 4 monitors, at 4 separate monitors, running 4 virtual sessions separately at the same time, which is really amazing for a device of this class. It's at the end, it's still a small, tiny PC, right? And the OS, the IGEL OS, is an OS requiring only 4 gigabytes of memory. So just think about what kind of performance is available here with these components. This is because both are very efficient by design. And apart from that, we are equipping the new UD7 with 8 gig of memory, DDR4 memory, so really fast and much memory. We were also having, by the way, an option you can enable in the BIOS if required. You can select up to 4 gig of memory only for video purposes. So specifically for video requirements, you can go into the BIOS and select 4 gig of video RAM, VRAM. The default value is 2 gig. But you can change that to 4 gig and then have really for video applications, this is the maximum you can get.
That's great. That's. I was going to ask you if you could share some of the hardware specs, and you did. That's perfect.
Sure. Yeah, sure.
That's
sure.
Brilliant.
We have. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, we have also in terms, not only in terms of performance, but also in terms of connectivity. We went beyond the past, right? We have included a USB-C interface, which includes a display port functionality. So you're able to connect to a docking stations, for instance, and then to a monitor, just using one USB-C cable. You have the serial port. We still have decided to have this a serial port on the device. There are still many customers out there requesting from IGEL the support of a serial interface. At the insurances or banks,
the finance and trading.
Yeah. Right. They still have a lot of peripherals, which all of them run on a serial interface, and they are still good enough. They do not want to invest into new hardware. And this is why we have still a serial port on board, which, by the way, offers 5 volts of power supply. So you only need one cable to connect to your serial peripherals. This is also one of the specialties in our device. And last but not least, also here, same as in the new UD3, we offer optionally, it's an option, a wireless network capability, an integrated wireless LAN and Bluetooth module you can use to connect to your wireless networks. And talking about networks, we also have a very important new feature for the first time in our devices, which is an integrated fiber feature. We have many customers with fiber infrastructures, and those customers, for instance, were using in the past the UD6 and they have put into it a fiber card, a PCI Express based fiber card in order to support their fiber infrastructure. And in the new UD7, you can choose between the standard network Ethernet connector, which is a copper connector. This is what you know from all the endpoints. Almost the majority of endpoints have this copper connector, right? This is this standard connector, which also often has two LEDs to show the connection. You may know what I'm talking about.
Sure.
So this is the standard copper connector, but you can choose the new UD7 to come with an integrated fiber, a so-called small form factor pluggable connector, and in order to connect it to your fiber-based Ethernet. Fiber, just in case you didn't know, enables a much more efficient and secure Ethernet connection because it's light, right? It's not electric connection, it's a light connection. It has less interferences, it has no loss, and it has also, by the way, no radiation. So you can consider fiber to increase security because it simply just can't be manipulated. If someone goes and cuts the cable and puts some kind of device in between the cables, then you can't do nothing out of light. You cannot get any data out of that. So this is also in terms of connectivity an important update.
That's great. That's great. We also have some interesting security stuff built into the hardware in the chips. Can you describe that? I find that sort of interesting.
Yes, sure. Catherine, shall I go ahead, or do you?
Yeah,
want
please
to...
go ahead,
Okay,
Michail, on
sure.
this. Yeah.
Yeah. So also, of course, security. You know what? IGEL security comes first. Yeah. IGEL's chain of trust, and also in the new UD7. The IGEL chain of trust will start at the very, very, very lowest layer of the whole infrastructure, which is the hardware, right? The lowest layer is the hardware, and there it is where IGEL chain of trust starts, also in the new UD7. We have introduced the so-called Amd Secure Processor at the first time already at the old UD7 and at the new UD3, which are also AMD-based platforms. What does the Amd Secure Processor does? It ensures that the BIOS, which is the next instance of the booting process, so when you are switching on the device, right? First of all, it gets power off, it gets powered on, it gets some power supply, the processor is getting powered on, and the first thing that happens is that the firmware, the BIOS, is going to be loaded. And that Amd Secure Processor is a dedicated ARM-based processor in the processor. So it sits really in the processor. It's a dedicated processor, which has the only task is to have this security function. And together with AMD, we are assigning our BIOSes, which are preloaded in the devices. And that processor controls if the BIOS has the signature that it is required in order to ensure that it is not manipulated. If it is manipulated somehow, if something is wrong or something like that, the boot process will stop immediately. The next thing we have is the UEFI Secure Boot. This is the next instance of the boot process, which is if the BIOS was loaded successfully, if nothing was wrong with that, the next instance that comes is the so-called OS loader. And the loader wants to load the operating system. And if that loader is somehow manipulated, also here, the booting process will stop immediately. And all the way forward, we have all the IGEL chain of trust coming then into the operating system, up to the UMS, into the cloud. Additional important features in the new UD7 are that we have an optional smart card reader. So that's also an option. You can order that, and then you can introduce end user authentication into your infrastructure if you need that. And a last important thing is that it also will soon be available with a TPM module. The new UD7 is equipped with a TPM module, but this is currently under integration with IGEL OS. This will be the first device that will provide the TPM integration. TPM is not exactly the same like what I mentioned before with Amd Secure Processor. It is also a hardware layer based security method. It also sits on the board, but it's not exactly the same. But we're going to share more details about that as soon as we will have completed the integration with IGEL OS. We'll of course proceed accordingly with an announcement, and we'll provide also additional details about that.
Michail, just a question on that. Where would that be positioned then on the chain of trust, the TPM?
We have to, I can't tell yet because the integration is not completed. This is exactly what I mentioned before. TPM can be used for several types of security methods. It can be used, for instance, in order to encrypt the data on the flash storage, on the storage. Or it can be used in a similar way like the Amd Secure Processor, not the same, but a similar way in order to encrypt the booting process. And we have to look into that. We have to see how what is the best to introduce with IGEL OS, and can provide details then later on, but can't tell in the moment.
Okay. Yeah, thanks, Michail. And then, of course, with the IGEL OS, it has those inherent security features by design, in that it's, read-only and modular, and that's also then modular in that it can minimize attack surfaces, only use modules that are needed. The IT admin can administer that with the UMS, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's great. That's great. I love it. I love hearing about this stuff because it's so it's thorough. It's a complete solution. You have a great piece of hardware down there that's well thought out for an amazing OS, and then superior management. It's really a great solution. So
yes, absolutely.
You also and this is actually quite important too, very important. The form factor changed a bit, and I know it did with the UD2 and the UD3. Can you talk a bit about the differences between the form factor within the new UD7 and the previous UD7, UD6?
Yes, sure. Also here, all those things I have mentioned before, increasing performance. We have significantly increased the performance, the power of the new UD7. We have put much more connectivity into it. We have put much more security into it. And we have done all that while we have decreased the volume of the device by 50%. The new UD7 is approximately 50% less volume, the housing, 50% less volume versus the current UD7 or UD6 device. The current UD7 and the current UD6 share the same platform. It's 50% smaller than the last device we offered in that segment, even if we have put much more functionality into it, right? Even it has no fan. Many devices in the class of UD7 require a fan. They have an active fan, which is needed in order to cool it down, right? To cool down the heat that is developed in the device. And a fan is always noise. It is an additional risk for defects because it's a moving part, right? Always when you have mechanically moving parts in any kind of device is a risk for failure. And the new UD7 has no fan. It has a completely passive cooling concept. And it, by the way, it has also 20% less weight than the last UD7. It's smaller, it is lighter, and it is more environmentally friendly. We have a chassis which is 30% made out of recycled plastic. So also in terms of volume, in terms of weight, in terms of size, in terms of environment, here we also have introduced a device that is much more user-friendly, ergonomic, smaller, lighter, environmentally friendly for the end user.
And it can be positioned vertically, horizontally, and also mounted at the back of a display with the Vesa mount.
Oh, cool. Cool.
Yes,
I didn't know we could mount these. That's cool.
Yes. We offer a so-called Vesa Mount Kit. It's basically just a metal part,
sure.
And you can use that Vesa mount in order to attach the UD2, UD3, or UD7. All of them, you can attach them at the rear side of a monitor, and then you can have a very clean and tight desk workplace.
You got it. Very cool. So let's talk about availability. You guys did announce this earlier this year. Is it available? We do have this chip shortage thing going on. Is this affected by this? And at the same time, I must confess, I don't 100% understand this chip shortage. I haven't looked into it. I don't want to look into it, but I guess you can tell me all about it. What is this? And my big question about the chip shortage is why? If we're all working, I guess we're all working from home, but maybe that's the reason. But I don't know. Why? I mean, if we're not doing anything, can't we all make chips?
Yeah, first of all, to your first question about availability, the new UD7 is available now. It is already announced, as Catherine mentioned earlier too, and it will be orderable effective June 1st. So when we will be releasing our June price books, which will be effective June 1st, there you're going to see for the first time all available new UD7 SKUs, which can be ordered, as I mentioned before, depending on configuration, if you require wireless or a fiber or a standard network or a smart card reader. So all those SKUs you're going to see in the price book of IGEL are effective June 1st. And about the chip shortage, yes, everybody is affected by the chip shortage. We are also affected by the chip shortage. All manufacturers are affected, not only us. And where did this came from? This is a not easy question. I have heard a lot about that. In my opinion, that the center of the chip industry is Asia. So basically, it's China, it's Japan, Taiwan, there is where this pandemic has started, right, in China, and which led many factories to close. Now they are opened again in the meantime, but you may remember that in the course of 2020, last year, at the very beginning of the pandemic, and not only at the beginning, but if I remember correctly, this continued also at least until Q3 of last year, a lot of factories had to close completely. The workers couldn't go to the factories, and this is the reason that the production got less and less, and it became lower. And shortage in the market and availability of the products at the customer have some kind of delay in between, right? So if you have a shortage today in the market, then you are going to experience that something like half year later, at least, or 9 months later, or something like that. So it's taking some time, and this is why now I don't know if we have passed the peak already of the shortage situation, because I'm hearing also in these days also, for instance, car manufacturers are concerned. Some car manufacturers have to even stop some production facility or reduce the production, introduce Kurzarbeit, right? What we have in Germany, that they have to work for less time because, and the reason is coming in the news, is they have too less chips. Okay. Who would have ever thought that car production has to stop because chips are not available? So this is also some kind of crazy in the
transformation
of all the industries we're in between, right?
We need to go back to those good Detroit engines, right? Or those good German,
right?
5-liter gas guzzling engines.
No
chips. Who cares about the environment? Gasoline.
Yeah. Right. You just needed gasoline. If you have enough gasoline, then no problem.
That's a different problem.
Right.
Always a problem.
That's going to be finite too, right?
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Maybe more so. So, or definitely more so. Well, very interesting. Very, very interesting. Catherine, anything to add there?
Yeah, so I'd like to just inform the community of where they can find more information on the UD7. We'll have those videos, performance videos, 3 great performance videos on YouTube. I can make those links available to you, Doug.
Please.
And then, of course, you have your data sheet on igel.com. And on Knowledge Base has a lot of really good information as well, the IGEL Knowledge Base for the UD7. And then, of course, on our social media, you will see upcoming blog also from Frederick regarding the UD7 performance. So plenty of information available. And if you're looking for anything else, please do get in contact with me.
Perfect. Will we still sell the UD7? Do we still have existing stock? Things like that?
Yeah, in Europe, it's available until stocks last. And I don't know, Michail, have you the latest stand on that?
Yeah, we still have a few. It's exactly as you say, Catherine. In the United States, it's sold out already, but in Europe we still have some stock. It's very few. It's not very many devices available, but we still have some stock. And as Catherine mentioned, this is available as long as it lasts. So if you have any customers that are still requiring the existing UD7 model, then please just place your orders as soon as possible.
You got it. And once those supplies go out, I have one that'll end up on eBay for twice the price.
That's an interesting approach, yeah.
Yeah, you like that? No, that's mine. You can tear it out my dead cold hands. So let's see. I think that's it. We'll find out more when come June, as you mentioned. But reach out to your IGEL folks, your partners, your distributors to learn. To get your hands on one of these to learn more. Definitely, go to the IGEL community. If you have any questions, we can always help you. There's so many people within IGEL. Anybody within IGEL is willing to help you. And if they can't help you, they'll find the right person for you to help. And that's just the way it works.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So, guys, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I must confess, we kept pushing this off due to unforeseen problems, and I'm really glad we did. And really interesting. I just absolutely love this beast. This is really cool. I'm an old techie. You gotta love hardware. So software is neat, but hardware you can touch. And this one, I guess you can touch it 50% less. But
correct.
Still cool nonetheless, right? Okay. Any last words?
That's nothing from my side.
Yeah, thank you, Doug, for this opportunity. Yeah.
Thank you, Doug. Exactly. Thank you. Many greetings to the IGEL community. All the best, and thank you so much.
You got it. I do have one more question. So we've done the UD2, UD3, UD7, the UD Pocket. Don't forget that. What's next? Do you then now go and start work on the next revision of UD3, 2, 3, 7? What's next? Or can you say we can't tell you that?
Yeah, of course, we are always working on new products and new ideas and updates. But yeah, I can't tell more in the moment. But yeah, sure. Cool. You're always going to see some update. Now we are happy that we have completed the whole portfolio renewal from our hardware, and just stay tuned. And of course, you will be seeing updates in the future as well.
Perfect. Okay. Well, thank you so much. I'll let you get on with your day. And yeah, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Okay, that concludes another successful episode of DABCC Radio. I need to do more podcasts. I've been so busy with so much that I don't do enough. But I'll try to get some more out there for you guys. I do miss it. But there's so many great podcasts nowadays. It's amazing. I remember when I started this, Brian Madden and I were basically the first two doing it within the CUC space. And And it was all so much fun. After, God, what is that, 15 years ago, believe it or not. It'll be 15, well, it's 15 years ago now, I think. Wow, that's interesting. I think it's 15 years ago now. I started just before my first daughter was born, and she is just turning 15. I started just a couple days before she was born was the first episode. It's easy to remember the episode because I'll never forget her birthday, right? So, yeah. So we need to do more. I quite enjoy it. I love chatting with these folks. I love sharing it with you. I love learning myself, as I always say. So anyway, special thanks to our guests today, Michail and Catherine, for taking the time to do this. I really enjoy having those two on the show with us, with me, because the dynamic is really great. They're really great folks, have great personalities, and I think it comes off as a great episode. I hope you guys learned a lot and enjoyed it. What else do I say? Definitely, if you're not an IGEL customer, if you don't know anything about IGEL, join the IGEL community. www.igelcommunity.com. It's a Slack group. Although we do have tons of web properties too. We have videos and podcasts here, blogs, you name it. It's all up there, and it's some great resources for you. So I think you guys will really love it, and you'll learn all about IGEL. But also you meet a bunch of really cool folks. I must say, I think the IGEL community I'm biased, but I think it's probably the most lively, definitely the most lively, and really great group of folks having a lot of fun. And no offense to any other group of folks, but we have some great guys anyway, and gals. So what else do I say? But thank you all for listening to this episode. Try to get more out to you. Have a great day. Enjoy summer. I think that this whole COVID thing is starting to, I don't think it'll ever go away completely, or it will at some point, but it'll take some time. But, more and more people get vaccinated, or they're catching and getting their own vaccine, their own sense of immunity. And, summer, I see a light at the end of the tunnel. So this dark tunnel, I'm really looking forward to getting back to normal. And hopefully next year we'll all get together again. And I can't wait. I just can't wait. I miss you all so much. So I always enjoyed those shows and seeing everybody, my friends, and meeting new ones. So what do I say? But thank you all for listening to this episode of DABCC Radio. Have a great day, guys. Thank you again for listening to DABCC Radio. Woohoo! Yippee!
CC?
DABC.
Say it again, DABCC.
DABC.
Can you say it again, DABCC?
DABC.
How about DABCC?
DABC.
DABCC.
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 DABCC.